Hi everyone, McBeard here. I'm here with another deck guide for you from the pages of the Gwent Challenger. This one is ProNEO's Self-Wounding Crach Warcry, which I think was one of the more unique entries to the Gwent Challenger, and as ProNEO is one of the Gwent Challengers, we can make the assumption that the deck performed very well. Many people ask me, is this card worth crafting? Is this leader viable? You hear things a lot like that when you stream and when you make guides like that, and I think that worth and viability is sometimes very subjective, because I think to take a list like the Crach Warcry list into a tournament as a top player, it takes confidence, and it definitely is unexpected, probably by your opponent, because I think that generally the landscape of your opponents are expecting a certain amount of things. A lot of people expected to ban Scoia'tael, and as such, lots of people had unpracticed Scoia'tael that they got caught by when they had to play it in day two. And we saw a lot of Henselt came in. A lot of people assumed that Henselt would actually end up being the deck to beat in a landscape where you can ban Scoia'tael. Some people just straight up banned Northern Realms and let people play Scoia'tael. Some players like Vishra had monsters banned against them for the entire tournament, but Skellige probably went unbanned. So if you had a very strong and interesting Skellige list that your opponent couldn't predict or react to, maybe they're seeing it for the very first time, you can overpower them, and Crach definitely has a list that has the ability to overpower you. Let's check out the list. So this is the list. Got this one off GwentDB, so if there are any discrepancies to ProNEO's list, I would suggest we take a look at that page. Check out the description below for a direct link to the guide that was written on GwentDB about this deck, but this will be my video version of this guide. So there are a couple things to notice in this deck. First of all, there is only one Axeman. So generally, a lot of Skellige lists right now that aren't discard lists focus on the Axeman as their power unit. They are able to generate a lot of instances of damage to buff this unit. And a lot of cards that function with the Axeman are present in this deck as well, such as the Clan Brockvar Archer, which offers 3 instances of damage every time you play it, be it all 3 on your opponent's side, or maybe an extra ping for your Raging Berserker to transform it into the 11 strength weather immune bear. In addition to that, Yennefer Conjurer also, while being a hard to ignore presence on the board, her repeated instances of damage, not only just 1, many times 2, 3, or wherever the board's ceiling is at, she will hit for that many times. So having Yennefer Conjurer on the board makes your Axeman very threatening. Beyond that, the fact that you only have 1 Axeman means that you have lots of other units you can work with in the deck. While your Axeman remains a threat, your opponent may expect you to get greedy and drop a second Axeman, but there is no second Axeman. You live to get this 1 Axeman in the graveyard, so you can play it multiple turns with your Resurrection, Priestess of Freya, Sigurd Rifa, and Restoration. But there's lots of other things that are happening in this deck that make the Crach Warcry version work better than maybe a more weather-oriented Herald version that may desire to push as hard as possible with Axeman and see basically what they can get away with and what they can run away with. So the first major difference is the addition of Savage Bear. Savage Bear ensures that your board is always injured. So this accomplishes 2 things. First of all, your Warcry is always active on your units, as they are always wounded when you play them, with the exception of the Raging Berserker, but the Raging Berserker gets even more of a benefit in that they are buffed to the 11 strength Raging Bear that they're born to be. It is their calling to be raging all the time. So you want to get these bears out. You want to get them in your graveyard so they are 13 strength at the end of the game, which is a very strong possibility for you as well. I think really the name of the game with this deck is that you have so many possibilities to bring a lot of strength to the board. So let's talk about round 1 with this deck. Generally, you may want to place a Savage Bear, and then you may want to place a Raging Berserker to activate the bear. You may want to place an Axeman as a threat. You're not scared of playing your Axeman in round 1 because you can bring it back with your reses. And, playing a gold card such as Yennefer Conjurer in round 1 is very good, because out of all of your gold cards, you're most likely going to play Yennefer Conjurer early to bring out Roach so you don't draw Roach. Igni and Coral are best used in situations where you can get large swings from them. Coral being able to put a non-mirrored weather effect on the ranged or the siege row. Good in its own right, but also every unit you hit is an instance of damage that buffs your Axeman as well. So keeping that in mind, you definitely want to get Roach out. King of Beggars is kind of an on-call Priestess of Freya. In the mulligan, you're going to want to get rid of your Priestess of Freya. You never really want to draw them. They're very bad in round 1. If you ever want to play the Savage Bear, you just kill them. It's happened to me. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes you just have a mind slip up. Your bears and priestesses don't get along in round 1 at all. So generally, the name of this game is building your graveyard up so your resurrects can hit huge units, such as bringing your Axeman back, bringing back the bears, using your archer to activate the bears, using your archer to later wound the bears, because there's a huge card in this. There's 2 of them in this deck, and it's Warcry, a long maligned card that hasn't really found a home, finds a home in this deck, and there are a couple of reasons why this card is a fair card now to use, especially to win rounds after passing easily, and also to seal the deal in the game deciding round. So the 2 main units you're probably going to hit with Warcry are a bear that's been pinged once at least, so they're at 10, 11, or 12 depending on what round it is and when you got the bear into the graveyard, but also Crach Warcry's leader ability, which allows you to summon 2 on-crate warriors that come in at 8 wounded strength. Essentially they start at 9 and then they wound themselves for 1. First of all, it's worth noting that this is a 16 strength leader ability. Very strong. Very strong when your opponent can't answer it. It's not staggered strength. You are at risk of getting Geralt Ignied or Scorched if you use Warcry early. But the beauty about this deck is, if you draw your spies early, Donar and Berna, these spies, when you play them early in a round, especially as Skellige, often induces your opponent to pass and make you have to spend the cards you got back to actually win the round, thus mitigating that card advantage that they're losing by letting you just play all the spies and maybe ultimately passing yourself. However, with Crach Warcry's leader ability, if you're holding a Warcry, you have a reach of 32 points in 2 cards at any given time. Spy is already getting you 1 card back. So if you're playing the round out and you drop a spy and your opponent passes, yeah, you're up a card. Yeah, you're going to have to spend 2 cards to win the round, but you're always going to win that round because it's really hard for your opponent to get out of that 32-point reach that you have with this deck. You do need to have Warcry in your hand. You do need to have spies in your hand, but I think mulliganing for these cards is quite strong. This is the way that I have played the deck. I don't know if ProNEO has ever played the deck in that way, but I feel like it's very strong, especially with an opponent that doesn't know what to expect with this particular deck. Then you go ahead and win the round, and you have the Crach Warcry warriors in your graveyard. This is important because should you draw your second Warcry, you now have res targets that are very happy to see the Warcry. In addition to that, you do also have a number of ways to wound your own units through Savage Bear and the archers as well. So the ultimate goal is you take round 1, maybe at a slight card disadvantage, but maybe even on parity because you were able to play your spies. You can bleed in round 2, playing up all the cards that you want to make sure they're stacked in your graveyard until you just have maybe a handful of priestesses, Sig, Restoration, and then in round 3, all you do is keep pumping them out, bringing them all back, bringing back 13 strength bears, bringing back Axemen that will continue to grow, and bringing back Savage Bears that continue to be a nuisance to your opponent. And then finally, perhaps bringing back wounded units from the graveyard in the on-crate warriors of Crach Warcry, and then you drop that Warcry on them, and it's a lot of strength. It's like an old-style Commander's Horn for red strength only. So double up that strength with Warcry, and I think that it's a really powerful tech right now, and I think that at this moment, this deck isn't very popular. You might be able to steal a few games with it, but I think it's very strong in its own right. Let's jump into a game and see how it works. If you have any other questions about the cards, please let me know in the comments. I mean, there's a lot of cards that have a lot of utility, such as Decoy, of course. Manticore Venom is a very strong card right now for removal. Lots of very threatening cards at 4. And of course, First Light, you do want to be able to clear weather in case your Axeman is your win condition and your opponent may be holding a fog for you. So and then one final note, King of Beggars, of course, pulling out a Priestess, or Sigurd Rifa pulling out a King of Beggars, which hits a Priestess, which hits a Bear. You can get into those great combos as well. So let's see if we can hit some of those combos in a game right now. We're going to jump right into a ranked game. And, you know, our rank is still above 4,000, so I still feel like this should be a proper showcase of this deck. So I'm ready. Hope you're ready. Let's play a game with ProNEO's Wounding Skellige deck. YouTube exclusive. I think we may have found somebody already. Yes, we have. No need to cut. We just get right into the action.
Mate.
All right, checkmate, he said as I tabbed out.
You've got the heart of an uncrate.
Radovid is my opponent, an interesting one. Radovid will make my Axeman very hard to use, so this will probably be carried on the backs of bears, I believe. But we do hold the Warcry, and we do hold a Spy, so we have the opportunity to induce a pass and steal the round, and we'll see if my opponent is, you know, okay with that. Priestesses we generally don't want, although I prefer to maybe mulligan them last, so they're less likely to be drawn. Although Roach is very much a card I would like to mulligan last, even more than the Priestess. So I think those two cards are probably the cards I want to mulligan right now. So we'll start with the Priestess because I want her less than Roach. King of Beggars is excellent. We're going to pitch Roach now. We're looking for the Axeman, of course, and we're looking for some Savage, some Raging Berserkers as well. There's Donner. Now we have 2 Spies and a Warcry. This may be actually strong enough. I think I'm going to play with this hand. This is maybe what I would say this is a greedy hand. I would say this is a greedy hand. But how do we start here? I think we may, because we're always looking to get stuff in the graveyard. Because we don't want to draw our reses and not have any targets for it. That just makes for dead, awkward hands, especially in a round where we don't win it. So I'm going to say we're going to probably start off with the Savage Bear. Lure Radovid into a false sense of security, perhaps induce a lock of some kind, and then just throw our Spies out. I think that's probably okay. I would like to have, you need to have at least a bronze card in the graveyard. I know Berna and Donner will facilitate that. So let's start off with the bear. Start off with the bear, see if that provokes any sort of reaction from Radovid, or if he just kind of goes about his life.
You crossed the wrong
He's playing Yennefer Conjurer. That's good for me. I don't want to play against it, so I'm happy that this would be a Spy round for me. I can use my Yennefer Conjurer in another round. Let's play the stronger Spy, the higher risk Spy, which I believe is Donner in this case.
Hey, man!
We'll see what we're looking at. It's a Priestess of Freya. We're going to take it because I don't really want to discard it. We're going to take that one. Now, does Radovid pass on the Spy is the question. Okay. Now, my point deficit with Berna goes up quite a bit now. It would be 35-3, which is just where I am comfortable being. It makes it difficult because I lose strength with each turn due to Yennefer Conjurer, and of course I don't have Yennefer Conjurer out myself. So playing Berna right now and hoping for a pass actually isn't enough for me to easily take it. I might just play the Brockvar Archer for 8, more so 7 because of the Savage Bear, but I could also end up playing Yennefer Conjurer now.
Keep together!
We're going to go with the Archer in this case. Ballista to take out the bear. Fair enough. Berna once again puts us too far out of reach. Puts us a bit too far out of reach. Although I do now have a target for a res. So I could play King of Beggars into a Priestess into a bear right now. I have options, but I feel like they're all fairly restrictive. I'm going to go for King of Beggars because drawing Sigurdrifa and drawing out King of Beggars is pretty decent.
The semblance of power don't interest me.
And this is one situation where you can get away with using the Priestess with you know, and the bear at the same time. Priestess goes down. Okay, so he doesn't like bears. We can say that safely. We can say that safely. Boy, his board is just out of Igni range. That would change everything for me. Just out of Igni range. But he'll get there. He'll get there. I think Yennefer Conjurer is the play here. I mean, winning the round is very important. And I'm up a card, and he's just playing his card. So right now, I'm already in the role of bleed, but I am also in a situation where I will have to win 2 rounds.
You just yield now.
This is obviously a very late play by me. At this point, I'm just looking for a pass. The round is far enough away for him to be confident about it. He's thinking about Radovid, and I don't think he understands how it works unless he just wants to delete that archer. Playing more cards. It's time for Berna.
You stand before the Queen of Skellige.
I'll take Sigurd Rifa because it puts the Axeman in the graveyard, which is actually a good pick for my priestess. He passes absolutely here. So what can we do in 2 cards? So we have 32, right? We have our 32. Which isn't really 32 because Yennefer Conjurer will ping them first. Unfortunately, we do have to leave the round. We can't make the push. Anyway, he wasn't buying it clearly with the spies. He just wasn't buying it. So he didn't want to pass until he was out of that 32-point range. It's possible that he knows all of this in advance, but I felt like his lead was quite strong. I gave him a very strong lead that he could have arguably been very comfortable with. But you know, we are above 4,000, and this deck isn't brand new. Not by a long shot. So let's see what he does here.
Are you wounded?
Now we are at the mercy. So he's playing in a way that suggests to me.
Calm yourselves.
I'll bounce this back on him. I'll bounce this back on him and he'll pass, I think.
Thanks.
I don't want another Savage Bear, I think. I think I'm fine with that being in the graveyard. Coral's much better. So if he passes here, perfect, in my opinion. And he might. He might. 20-0 in a round that you don't have to win. Maybe that's good. It is good for him. So we do it in 2 cards here. As we rehearsed.
Skellige's glory!
Obviously down to a card disadvantage, but the good news is we have 3 of our reses in our hand, plus Warcry. It may be enough. It may be enough. But we are now at a severe card disadvantage, even though we played both of our spies. And replayed one of his spies. Still isn't quite where we want to be ideally, moving first with being a card down, but I think we should have a lot of power here. He used Nanika, which is not nothing. That card is not nothing to get out of your opponent's hand, for sure. So I'm just trying to think of what King of Beggars pulls right now, because I could play Sigurd Rifa into King of Beggars. There is only one other priestess, and it is currently in my hand. And the Savage Bears are both in the graveyard, so if I'm not mistaken, it pulls... I guess we're going to have to see
The
here. I think it pulls
goddess
a Raging
protects you
Berserker.
from all evil.
Not one escapes. Got it?
An Archer, which
By the rates of
unfortunately has
Morhog.
to do this. But in a game where I'm holding Warcry in my hand, and I'm trying to get as many points as possible on the board, I think it's not, definitely not the worst thing.
Wart.
It's going down. I'll play Restoration on Sigurd Rifa, I think. I mean, she gets 2 buffs from the Priestess and then also from Roach appearing. It may not even be really worth it, though. So, an Axeman. I would like to see an Axeman and maybe a Bear, but I have no Archer really to proc the Bear into being in a wounded state.
Bow before modern Freya.
Hard to say no to the Axeman here.
For blood!
So this is a pretty heavy control deck, as I would expect from Radovid. Trying to control these cards is probably the biggest thing for him.
I need your heart!
I mean, that could end up being a bear. We don't have frost of anything to really activate it, but...
I'm a medic. I tend to know what I'm doing when I prescribe something.
Putting a Treb up, letting me get the bear, potentially. Potentially allowing the bear to occur. Geralt Igni not looking good right now. Coral not looking good right now with all the gold cards all over the place. I'm going to just rally and get something. It's probably going to be another bear or an archer. I'm happy with either option. I think I'd prefer a bear. No, I prefer an archer.
Help me! Destroy!
Hopefully the trebuchet does work for us here. So there we have it. We have a bear out. Radovid ultimately, I don't really know what Radovid's going to end up doing unless he wants to block the Raging Berserker and prevent it from ever becoming a bear. So once it takes these things off the board, maybe... Okay. Again, my gold cards are really, really not looking that promising for me right now. I think I'll grab an archer here.
Keep together!
Not only does this activate Warcry for us on the bear, but it also staggers the bears. The trebuchet ultimately has control over if this ever flattens out at 10. He's rallying. He's just looking for something here. If I play Coral, I'm saying that I'll never be able to Igni, essentially. I'm saying I'm just never, ever going to be able to Igni you if I play Coral. And if I play Igni, there's nothing to Igni. If I play Warcry now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if he has a solution to anything like that. He could probably be holding an Igni himself, in which case, you know, the bear row will eat it. Will eat it completely. I think I just have to play Coral. Unfortunately, Igni's is going to be dead, probably. Unless he plays something on the range draw that I can at least get some value out of. But ultimately, I want to hit as much as I can with Coral, so...
I can do a great deal more for you.
There's Roach. Roach is pretty good. Roach is going to help us. We're ahead by 22 at this point.
I told you so, you idiot!
Nothing to pull. Reaver Scout. Starting to feel a bit more promising here. I'll play the Warcry now. I want one more turn to see if I can get something out of Igni, and he's gonna be able to act last on Warcry anyway. So if we're looking at Warcry, 17, 23, 46. Well, 23. It's worth 23. Let's see what happens, folks. If it's an Igni, he obviously will Igni my front row, which doesn't allow me to Igni, which is really too bad. If it's Radovid, then he doesn't put anything new on the board.
I've had men killed for less.
Looks like that's what happened. So Igni is a dead card. It is a dead card. So if he was playing around Igni, then he successfully did it. But he has a lot of strength to make up. And this deck is really all about huge numbers in later rounds.
Any last words?
So if he does have Igni, that definitely helps him, but it doesn't get him there. He's 15 points behind still. I don't know if there's a card that can do it for him. Maybe he just doesn't have it, as we say on my stream. Ooh, it's going to be a close one with those Trebs. And then 1 ping, 2 pings. And it's going to be a narrow one, but it's going to be a win. Now that was a really tough round 1 to navigate. I'll be honest. He wasn't really doing what I expected him to do, although he did do what I expected him to do in round 2, but that put me at a huge card disadvantage. I didn't really have great draws in this round. My Raging Berserkers didn't get to play very much. We didn't get to resurrect any bears out of the graveyard, and we didn't really get to kind of bamboozle him on the spy play. Even so, the amount of strength that this deck was able to put out, all because I just pinged a bear with an archer. And even though I actually got Ignied for a 19 strength unit, it still wasn't quite enough. I was still able to build a lot of strength up. And part of it had to do with just the fact that the archer came out on the res first and I had to ping King of Beggars. That's an additional 4 points on Warcry. Warcry can do a lot of work for you in round 3. Don't be scared to play Crach Warcry early. You want to resurrect wounded units. You want all the different ways you can get wounded units on the board in round 3. And even if you don't have the last say, sometimes they just don't have an answer to that many points. And I think that's where this deck excels. It just kind of pushes and plods along and gets there. And Radovid couldn't get there today. So good game to my opponent here. We'll take this ranked win. Always like a ranked win. Here's where we're at. As long as we're above 4K, I think I can always show that they're competitive decks. And hopefully you'll all agree. If you liked the deck guide, please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, follow, do all of those things that I love you to do. And I hope you enjoyed this deck guide, and I'll be back with another one very soon. Until then, we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.